Hello, this is Houston SWL. I have another video for you. This is going to be on this Panasonic RF-4900. So I was lucky, I would say, to be able to purchase this off of the local Facebook marketplace. Talk about timing is everything. I was checking the marketplace ads, and I think not long after this was listed, it was early one morning, I saw this. Somebody was selling it for $50. So I sent him a text right away, said, hey, can you meet today? I'm coming over to pick it up. And luckily was able to meet and pick it up from the gentleman that I bought it from. So this is a Facebook ad that I answered. The guy said, Pioneer radio receiver, $50. But he said, not sure if it works. I've had it for a while. Don't have the power cord. Been decoration in my studio. So it's kind of a interesting place, sort of like a warehouse place. He had a recording studio, and this was in there. The guy didn't know anything about using this for shortwave, so I don't know if it was just in there for decoration or you're just using it for like AM, FM radio. So there was a possibility that the radio wouldn't work or had some problems, but that's the ad I answered and sort of got lucky. And I guess I found a couple other shortwave radios on Facebook Marketplace for a pretty good price. So here's a Facebook ad for this is the Zenith Transoceanic Royal 3000 that I got for $40. The guy originally had it for 90 and then dropped it down to 60 and then 40. So did have to clean it up. I had the capacitors changed out and it does have some issues on the alignment, but it's working pretty good. And then I did find one other radio. So I did find this Sony Earth Orbiter radio for somebody was selling for $40, and this is working pretty well as well. So just to say, keep checking those Facebook Marketplace ads because you never know what might pop up. But I sort of digress. Let's get into looking at this Panasonic RF-4900. So this was my dream radio back in the day. I started listening to shortwave in the 70s, and I believe this came out in I think 1979 to 1983, if I remember right. So this was well out of my ability to purchase it as a teenager and a young college kid. So never really thought I would get it, and this just kind of fell into my lap. So, I mean, I think a lot of the newer radios today are probably as good or even better as far as selectivity and sensitivity, but there's something to me about a large desktop radio that you really can't beat, and I just love the look of this. I guess even if it wasn't working, I'd probably keep it out because it's they don't make radios like this anymore. But let's look at some of the features. Let me sort of zoom in. I guess just before I do that, so I mean, this does have handles on the side. So when I got it, I guess this switch here was pretty staticky, and when you change just the band switch, sometimes it wouldn't change. This one worked okay. The volume knob over here was really scratchy. The audio would come in and cut out on it. So I found a video online of somebody actually taking the radio, the chassis, the top and the sides and the bottom apart, opening up the radio. So I was able to get in there and spray some deoxide into the mechanical band switch tuner here and into these potentiometers, and wasn't too bad, but there's a whole bunch of screws you gotta take off to get to the inside of the radio. So now all these switches and pots are working really well, no issue with that. The radio does have one problem that I'll show you, but let me zoom in here and see some of the features. This is the power switch. Radio powers up, so there's a external, this jack is for either hooking up an external speaker, or you can hook up the headphones, use headphones. There's a record out, then an auxiliary input, if I remember. And then you got the volume knob here. There's a separate bass treble knob, and this is the BFO button for CW or single sideband. So here's the multi kind of function switch. So in FM, it functions as a AFC. Switch it up, it's off. And also in for AM shortwave, you got the wide and the narrow filters there, and the wide filter is 5 kilohertz, and then the narrow is 3.4. I'm looking at a spec sheet right here. It's 5 and 3.4, so they're somewhat close, but you know, like I said, some of the newer portable radios may have 3, 4, maybe even 5 bandwidth filters. So this is sort of limited, but I guess back in the day that was pretty common. There's this noise limiter, so off, flick it down to on, but this is really, from what the manual said, just for like lightning, those type of noises that it'll limit, but just for regular like shortwave listening, it didn't really do anything for like the static and stuff like that. And this is a AM mode switch, so keep it in here for AM, and then if you want to go to the single sideband and use the BFO, that's what that's for. This radio is also kind of interesting. It's basically 2 radios in one, so there's 2 separate tuners. There's the one over here that uses this dial, or this scale, and then the one over here uses this over here. And I believe the reason they did that, so I guess this one is used for AM, I don't know if you can see that, AM, FM, and then there's a shortwave 1 and shortwave 1. So this uses this small dial, you know, and has the digital readout here in blue, and then this other side is just for shortwave. So there's shortwave 2 through 8. So let me move this over. So the shortwave 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's controlled by this knob here. This is shortwave 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's using this dial. And so the dial over here on the right, so you can select FM, turn up the volume, and to me the radio has a pretty good sound. Let me try to get something that's right here's a local public radio station. Didn't want to get the music in there. So FM, this changes, and the next one is for medium wave. And so again, this is using this dial over here. But this radio does have a problem on AM. It may not come in well, but there's some type of alignment issue is off. So you get some kind of image channels and frequencies. So I mean, it does pick up AM stations, but the audio isn't as loud as it should be, in my opinion. So this is one of the interesting ones. So there's 2 local Vietnamese stations on AM here in town. This is one of them, but you can see it's shown on 650, but actually the station is on 1560. So I guess the intermediate frequency is 455, which is kind of normal. So it's like it's double that, and so yeah, I guess that's why it's appearing down here. So I'm gonna have to go and figure out how to align the radio, and I think that may fix the problem. There was like one or two other stations that also had these images, but the kind of the stronger stations come in pretty well. I give him that little kind of whistling going on there, but thankfully shortwave doesn't have any issues, and neither does FM. So that's medium wave, and then this next selector is the shortwave 1, and so that still uses this, but shortwave 1 is the pretty low frequency band. It's a 1.6 to 3 megahertz. So I don't really listen much down there. So that's all using this knob tuner and the readout here on the left. But once you go to this one, you can see the light changed from the left to the right, and so now this whole section of the radio is being used. And this is being used for shortwave 2 through 8, which is selected by using this selector switch here. So we start off at the bottom, 3 to 7, 7 to 11, 11 to 15, 15 to 19, 19 to 23, 22 to 26, 26 to 30. So if I just put out a recent video about the antenna that I'm using, but pull back so you can see here's the box for the K480 WLA. And then if you're like me, I always sometimes forget to put it on the shortwave band. So I've been really liking the this loop antenna. So since we're close to Mexico, this is Radio Educación from Mexico City. So this normally comes in pretty clear. So this is on the K480 WLA. If I switch to the long wire with the coaxial switch, yeah, it's definitely not as good. Definitely noisier. Back to the 480. So I'm really been liking that. So with the long wire and the K480 WLA, I guess it goes into a coaxial input on the back of the radio. Let me see what else I can pick up. This is 6030. I believe this is Radio Marti. I think this is one of the religious stations. I can't remember which that is. 5850. I believe this is WRMI. So anyway, that's down here on this shortwave 2. Shortwave 3 is from 7 to 11. So let's see if we can get anything here. Not exactly sure what station this is. Nine 775. I'm sorry, it's 9770, I believe. Some noise. But the calibration is off a little bit on this, but nice thing about this radio, it has this calibration sort of dial. So if you like put it on WWV, you know, the frequency, I guess if you tune, to the best signal and it's off, you can use this to recalibrate the frequency readout. So I haven't bothered to do it because I know it's about two kilohertz off. WWV. So it's coming in clear. Let me just for grands switch to the long wire. So it's fairly clear, but you can hear it definitely, the long wire is definitely noisier. And I have the K480 WLA pointed northeast, southwest. Alright, but just for some of the other features, this is pretty nice. It has the coarse tuning here, where it tunes pretty quickly. But if you pull the knob out, hear it click, I guess it tunes a lot slower in I think it's like 1 kilohertz. So this is a nice feature. Push it back in and it'll be able to scroll quickly. This is Shortwave 4. So let's see, I think there should be something around 13790. I think this is the BBC in Somali, I believe. I believe BBC is also around 12 something or other. Yeah, this is it. The BBC in English. Again, let's switch to the long wire. So it's coming in pretty clear as well. Switch back. So long wire's working pretty good up on that frequency. Here we go up to 15 and 19. Let's see if we can get WWV. Not. Here we go, WWVH actually. Not coming in the greatest. Let me try the long wire. It's definitely a lot noisier. I'm not sure what is up around 15 at this time. I don't think there's a whole lot. It's just also something about just turning a dial on a shortwave radio. It's just kind of, I guess I was just so used to doing this when I was younger. It's kind of nice. So let me go up to 17. I don't know if Radio New Zealand is still on. I think it's 17.6 something or other. They might have. Here we go. 17675. Radio New Zealand International. So, coming in pretty clearly. On the loop. Let me go to the long wire. So still have in the wide position here. Go back to the loop. So you can tell, man, that makes a huge difference. So this, it doesn't do that, make a huge difference all the time, but flip to the narrow. Back up. So like if I click the noise limiter, so it's only used really for like impulse noise, like lightning, things like that. Then I guess I won't go up to these other higher frequencies, but you get the idea. So we're using this section of the radio here, whereas like I said, this one is for AM, FM, and the shortwave 1 band. Let's look at some of the other switches here. I guess there's a switch here. You can turn the light off and on. So it's on. So it turns the light on and off. The digital display, you can turn that off. Back on. And this next one, this is for the meter. So it's on the signal strength right now here. But if you flip it down, it'll read the battery, but I'm not using any batteries in the radio. So you can change the function of this meter with that. And coming over here, there's a knob for an antenna trimmer. I've actually, I guess, tried this, but didn't really notice a whole lot, but it's supposed to match the impedance of the antenna to the input of the radio. So I mean, if I'm turning it here with the K480 WLA, and maybe it might make some difference somewhere, but it's not going to be overly obvious. And this last one is the RF gain, so I have it all the way turned max, but turn it to the left, you can see the reducing the gain signals going down. So normally keep it maxed out, but I think sometimes for SSB you want to maybe turn this down and do it manually. Let's see if maybe we can pick up some hams. The BFO, you know, it's not like some of the modern radios where they'll automatically go to figure out upper, lower side band and lock onto the signal, so you have to manually tune it, which sort of can be a little finicky, but let's see if we can find some hams to test that out. Alright, here's some hams on 7172. Well, it may not be the exact frequency, but see, as you rotate this BFO knob, so you have to rotate it till you can get a fairly audible signal. So I think they're speaking in Spanish here. But yeah, sometimes it takes a little fine tuning to dial that in to get the audio. But yeah, it's coming in pretty good. So that's the features here of this Panasonic RF-4900. So I really like the radio. You know, like, again, it's just something about the large desktop. I guess this probably won't appeal to everybody because it is big, so you got to have, I guess, the room for it, but it just looks real neat. I'm not sure, I don't think I'm going to turn it around, but I'll let me pull up the manual I printed out and show you what's on the back of the radio. So here you go. So there's a ferrite antenna that's used for a medium wave, and let me see. So here's the coax input that I'm using for a shortwave with the coax switch. This is also used for shortwave 2 through 8, same as this, shortwave 2 through 8, the right hand side of the radio. So this is like some clip, I don't know what you call them. You press the levers down at the bottom and you can shove the wire, you know, that's peeled back into for the antenna, and then for a ground. This is for FM input here, and this is also for an input for AM. I guess I'm not exactly sure what happens, because I believe this is always hooked up. If you hook up external wire antenna for AM, I'm not sure how that works together with that, because you can't disable this as far as I'm aware. And then for the FM, I guess the radio had, you can see at the top there, the black thing there. So I have that hooked up for FM. I guess I haven't tried any other type of antenna for FM, but that seems to be working pretty well. So there you go. That's the Panasonic RF-4900. Like I said, I'm using the K480 WLA with the 125 foot long wire that's hooked, going to the back of my fence, around the back and around the other side, going through this coaxial switch. So if you hadn't seen that video, I did a short video about these two antennas, so go check that out. So alright, I think that's all I have. So thanks for watching.